All right, welcome to Daily BS. Today, I'm going to be taking a look at the movie The Lighthouse with Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. Before we get started, if you are listening on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe. And if you're listening in podcast form, please follow or favorite Daily BS. I upload videos or podcasts daily, and if you're subscribed, you'll be able to get them right away. So, let's get into it. All right, so I've been on a Robert Pattinson kick lately, and this one was actually suggested to me by a subscriber because in my review for Good Time, starring Robert Pattinson, I asked for suggestions from subscribers for other Robert Pattinson films that really displayed his acting ability. And one of the first ones that someone suggested was The Lighthouse. And they really had a lot of good things to say about it, so I figured I'd check it out and do a little review. All right. So the first thing I noticed about this movie when I started watching it was the way it was shot, the cinematography. It's shot in a way, look, it's in black and white, and this black and white looks and feels vintage. You know, rather than just being a modern film, set in black and white, it actually feels like it's of its time. It's like, it kind of reminds me of a movie, it's kind of obscure, I think. Not a lot of people have seen it, but there's a movie called Dead Man with Johnny Depp. And it's another one that feels like it was actually shot in the time of black and white cinema. Like something about the setting and the way it was shot, whatever camera they used. I'm no genius when it comes to these things, but whatever they did made it feel like a film from that era. It didn't just feel like someone put a black and white filter on a modern film. So that was one of the first things I thought was really good, and it gave me like truly creepy feels right away. Like everything looks of the time. Like the set pieces are perfect. And another thing that grabbed me is that there's no dialogue for the first 7 minutes of the film. So I knew this was going to be kind of an artistic endeavor. Like I wasn't going into just your average run-of-the-mill dramatic film, right? And this is classified as kind of a horror / suspense dramatic film. But anyway, everything looks, like I said, of the time. Everything in the background, the feel of the entire movie just feels like you're watching a movie from, the 1930s. But yeah. So, there's no dialogue at all. And then, at first, it's mainly Willem Dafoe dialogue. Like, the only things that Robert Pattinson says are reserved to, like, a couple quick queries and acknowledgments. He's saying like, yes, sir. And then Willem Dafoe corrects him and says, oh, no, you say I, sir, not yes, sir. And that's basically it. He's very kind of like keeps to himself, while like Willem Dafoe's character, like he really loves to hear himself talk, He's loud, he's kind of brash. And at first I thought that the Dafoe character had a thick Irish accent. And he might have, I don't know exactly, but the longer the movie went on, I realized, he's got like the sea captain accent. He was just a straight up pirate, lots of R's and ye lads, And like, also, I highly recommend turning on the subtitles so you don't miss anything, because there's a lot of dialogue that would be really hard to understand. Luckily, I watch everything pretty much with subtitles on. And so I didn't have that problem, but I can see how if I didn't have the subtitles on, I would have missed a lot of what was being said, especially from Willem Dafoe's character. But it becomes obvious quite early in the film that there's something not quite right about Dafoe's character. Like, he's possibly insane. He's like this crazy, mean, brash slave driver. And he even gives this awesome, little speech, just demeaning Pattinson's character. he's complaining that Pattinson's character isn't doing as much work as he should. And the thing is that Willem Dafoe's having him do all the things around this lighthouse, right, that he doesn't want him to do. A little bit of background, like I didn't mention, I guess, if you haven't seen the film. The basic setup is there's two guys assigned to this lighthouse, and they're on this island all alone to man this lighthouse for, I think it's supposed to be a period of like 6 weeks or something, before they're relieved by someone else. And basically it's Willem Dafoe, right? It's his baby, it's his lighthouse, and Robert Pattinson is this new guy coming in to help out, and he's like a hired hand. And Dafoe's character makes him do all the undesirable things, that he doesn't want to do himself, like all the hard work, all the manual labor. Meanwhile, all Willem Dafoe does is man the light. Like he mans the lighthouse. That's what he does. He's the light keeper, while Robert Pattinson's character is just working his ass off day and night. So anyway, he like berates him. He like makes him feel like trash. He tells him he's lazy, and it's ridiculous. Pattinson's character is like, he complains. He's like, I'm doing my best, and Dafoe just rips him apart with this scathing, like, ridiculous speech. But it's so fantastic. So from then on, the characters have a very bipolar relationship, in which they're either fighting with one another or they're drinking and dancing and hugging each other, right? And things quickly spiral into madness when the like psychosis of isolation and not being able to tell what time it is or how much time has passed sets in. As we see Pattinson's character start to hallucinate and have disturbing nightmares, we also become aware that Dafoe's character, Thomas Wake, now we know his name. It took till like halfway through the film to find out these characters' names. So we find out that Thomas Wake is strangely obsessed with this lighthouse, like the light specifically. He's very protective, and he has this weird, like, I don't want to give away too much of the movie, but there's almost a sexual element to it with this light. He's very protective and is afraid of letting anyone else near it. He constantly proclaims that it is his and no one else's. And, of course, this makes Pattinson's character, who we now know his name is Thomas Howard, it makes him long for it even more. Like, he wants to find out what is so special about this light that Wake refuses to share with anyone. Like, he keeps asking, when am I going to get to learn that part of the job? When can I be the light keeper? And, Dafoe, he becomes angry that he would even ask such a thing. So the best thing that I could figure is that this is a movie about madness and insanity, either from past sins and regret, or simply just the madness of isolation. And, like, at first, I wasn't sure how I felt about this movie. The performances were top-notch. Robert Pattinson is earning more and more of my respect with every film of his that I watch. And, my God, Willem Dafoe is awesome in this. I've always loved Willem Dafoe, but I've got to say, he really turns it up on this one. Like, the way he delivers his dialogue, straight up Shakespearean. He has these long, intricate, scathing monologues where he just rips Pattinson's character apart. And later in the film, Pattinson has a couple as well, but to be honest, it's nothing compared to the lashing that Dafoe delves out. So anyway, as I was saying, I wasn't sure how to feel about this film. Like, whether or not I liked it or not. I knew I loved the performances, and I knew I loved the look and the feel of it. But as a story, I wasn't sure. But then, I thought to myself, I thought, a movie, when a movie about madness and insanity actually, when it actually has you feeling like you're going slightly mad while you're watching it, that's a damn good movie. I got so wrapped up in the insanity that I actually felt a little off after watching it. And I've only seen a handful of movies in my life that gave me that feeling. Off the top of my head, The House That Jack Built, Vanilla Sky comes to mind. There's a few others, but I can't think of them at the moment. But The Lighthouse is now on that list, for sure. So I had to do a little info dive to deconstruct the ending a little bit. And from what I found, it's a bit of metaphor about Prometheus stealing fire from the gods and being punished for it. Now, I don't know. It seems to be that. I mean, it seems to be pretty direct that that's the symbolism at the end of the film. But I'd love to hear your guys' interpretation. If you have a different interpretation, I'd love to hear it. Just leave me a comment below. If you're listening in podcast form, hit me up on Instagram or Twitter at RealBrettScott and just send me a message. But so here's some info that I did find interesting, though. This film actually has its roots in reality. There's some legitimate history to this. So apparently there was a lighthouse where 3 lightkeepers were stationed and mysteriously all disappeared. And when their relief showed up, there was no one to be found. There was no bodies, there were no clues. The last thing that was written in the logs was that they were having some inclement weather. But there's been tons of legends and theories built around this, and clearly this story is a derivative of that. But no one knows, who knows what may have happened to these 3 lighthouse keepers. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. Okay, so in wrapping this up, look, I'm sure that this movie is not for everyone, but personally, I enjoyed it. It was wild and chaotic and probably much deeper than I even realized. I used to judge movies by whether or not I could watch them over and over again. But I'm starting to realize something as I get a little older and I get into more dramatic film, that some movies can be experienced one time and last forever. This movie, it's a slow burn, and like a lot of suspenseful dramatic films, it takes a while to unfold. So I don't know if I would watch this over and over, but I'm damn sure glad I watched it once. It's not one that I will soon forget. All right. If you enjoy videos or podcasts like this, here's what I do on this channel, on this podcast. Every day, I pick a subject, a topic that's relevant to me, something that I'm interested in, and I talk about it. And I'm not perfect. I don't do it every single day, but I get damn close. And it's everything from entertainment and pop culture to politics and stories about my life. I'm all over the place. Now, if that's something you can vibe with, please subscribe to the channel or favorite or follow the podcast. And if you decide to stick around, then I will talk to you again tomorrow.